Good evening, folks, and welcome to another edition of the Pilot Review Show. I am Captain Blade J52, and I am joined this week by some of my merry cohorts. We have to my immediate right, the hologram of the hour, Artie.
Hi, guys.
And then somewhere out, lost in space, trying to find his tail, is the wolf of the Timber Clan.
Oh, I'm simply doing some upgrades to the starships, that's all.
Uh-huh. He's trying to secretly hide from his flea bath. Don't let him fool you. But, anyways, folks, we do have a few little things to get to this week. Some stuff coming to console, finally, for you guys. And that is, first and foremost, you guys are finally getting the random task force operations that we've had on PC for a little bit. Now, basically, think of it, for those of you that are longtime MMO players, think of it as Stowe's take on the random dungeon finder you might see in games like WoW. That's a rough comparison. You queue up for a random group, you could end up getting a ground map, you could end up getting a space map. There's really no way to tell until you queue up and you get in there. But there are some good stuff that's coming along with it. Graphic still makes me laugh every time of Curland holding the box there. Now, the good thing about the random TFOs, and we touched base on this a little bit whenever it first came to PC, but one of the things you guys are going to be getting above and beyond the normal rewards that a queue will give is you're actually going to be getting an additional little bonus box once you complete the queue. So if, as one example, the queue normally awarded you, let's say, 150 marks, including your daily bonus just to keep the math simple. Well, once you complete the queue, you could end up getting lucky and getting a box that awards you an additional 100 marks. So there is some slight variation to that, but you can see the breakdown here. You've got the common boxes with choice of 50 marks. You've got, that's at normal level, then advanced it gives you 70, and you can kind of see how the chart breaks down there. The level of box that you get, in part, is determined by how well you do, such as grabbing optionals and things of that nature. So it's possible that if, say, you got the very rare box from an advanced version, if you got 150 marks normally, you could come out of there with 290 marks from a single queue. Now, the good thing we will mention with these boxes, and then I'll open it up to the guys, is that these random boxes will give you your choice of marks. So it's possible to have, say, the 150 marks of, we'll say, Borg. And then you decide, well, I kind of need a few gamma marks, so I'm going to go with that. And then you could get your 140 gamma marks. But, yeah, I know we've kind of gone over this before, but what's some thoughts from you guys?
I feel like this is definitely a good improvement. It gives us a little bit more of an incentive to get, some newer stuff out there, as well as, to get into the PvE stuff again. So, it just helps out there. Not much of a, it's not very helpful when you're geared for space and they end up on a ground mission. But that's where you have to adapt your builds, I guess. So it works out either way. Makes everything a little bit more clear-cut and adaptable when you get stuck on a mission.
Okay. What about you, Sir Timber? Any thoughts on this particular feature coming to console finally?
Well, quite honestly, I just started using it, I want to say about a week and a half ago on PC. I know it's been around for a little bit. But I just started using it, and for me, the results have been phenomenal. Granted, the queues I don't think are going to hardly pop in this, just because of the amount of players. I don't think you're going to see too many crystalline catastrophes or things from the competitive war games that require like 10 or more people. Because from what I've seen, it's a lot of 5-man queues. That's typically what pops. So you might see a rare instance of a 10 or more player queue in very rare instances. But because of its random, does help playing some of those queues that you forgot about, that you used to love playing. Like for me, I got a Kilmer Vortex 2 days ago, which was nice. And then you've got those queues that you hated, and you get like 3 of them in a row. And for me, that was Gravity Kills. I got 3 of those in a day. Highly irritating. But, as they said, it's really good for marks, and dilithium. Not only it's the marks, but it's also the dilithium. And considering that you do have two reputations that are relatively hard, we discussed this during the Red Alerts when they started making those weekend events. Considering it's harder nowadays to get Lucari and competitive Wargames marks, this does make up for it, especially if you get a lot of these boxes stacked up. It can make up for not just getting enough marks to max out those reputations, but once you have enough to max out the entire reputation, you can start using 100 marks and start getting the elite marks. If you never run into things where you can get protomatter containment elite marks or the Wargames assessed stratagems, I believe it's what they are, if you're not getting any of those elite marks, you'll get plenty out of this where you can trade them in to get them. So it's been really helpful on that account, especially on one of my alts. So it gets irritating at times for me, depending on what pops up, especially since I'm doing it at advanced difficulty, but the reward can be really good. For me, and this is just me thinking off the top of my head, probably one of the most rewarding ones you could potentially get would be Undine Assault Advanced. Normally, if you're doing that one right, you can get close to 300 marks off of that particular PvEQ Task Force operation. But if you've got your reputation mark boost, let's say, and you get, let's say, a very rare box or an ultra rare box off of this thing, I mean, you could come out of this thing with maybe upwards of 600 Undine marks in a single run. And that's nothing to sneeze at. I mean, it's got to be the right mission, and it's got to be the right combination, but you could come out with a tremendous amount of marks for your time, and have some dilithium to refine for the next day. So, definitely worth it, especially for you console players.
Can agree with that. Now, I would say one bit of advice we would give is be sure to have at least a basic ground set whenever you get ready to go in there. Even if it's just basic Mark 12 very rares, you want to have a little something. That way they don't catch you with your proverbial pants down, and you get your rear end handed to you in case you do get a ground queue. So kind of be prepared for all possibilities when going in, because to quote Forrest Gump, life is like a box of chocolates and you never know what you're going to get.
Just to further that, if you're queuing up an advanced, since you could face anything, there are some advanced queues that are very easy with ground and space, and there are some advanced queues, ground and space, that unless you have a very decent build for both, it can create a headache in a pug environment. So definitely be aware of that. You could run into something that, if you have, and I'm going to say this in a weird way, but if you have the wrong pug group, the map could last a long time. So you want to try and be as well prepared as possible. The one downside I see to it is, if you've got everything ready for space and then you get into a ground map, you can't switch things like your traits or your specialization trees to be further prepared for a ground map. You're just stuck. So you're going to have to, as far as like specialization trees and whatever ground traits you got, and space traits, you're going to have to go ahead and make sure everything's ready for a balanced build before you start this, because you never know.
Yep. Like we say, it's most likely you're not going to run into any super major issues, but it is something we did want you guys to be aware of. That way, like we said, you don't get caught off guard, and you're at least somewhat prepared gear-wise, even if you may not be that familiar with the queue itself. But, speaking of other big things coming, you guys are finally, over on console, getting Age of Discovery coming on November the 13th.
Yeah, so, yeah, that's basically it. You're getting all the new Age of Discovery stuff, as well as, the new Starbase 1 PvE plus a number of various other starships and in-game weapons and stuff like that, uniforms, and wonderful voice acting of our Cadet Tilly. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, we don't... I don't guess we really know how to put it out there other than, hey, it's finally coming on the 13th. But, yeah, definitely, you're going to be getting the first batch of Discovery content. I will say it's rather interesting, everything, but, I know one of the big things that is going to be coming you guys will want to check out whenever they post the stats blogs for you guys again is the new Discovery Starship that they're going to have for you guys. The level 4 Starship that actually levels with you this time around. But, needless to say, it's OP, definitely worth the money. But, yeah, any quick thoughts from you, Sir Timber?
For that Starship, it levels with you to about level 40. You can make it work past that if you want. Big thing, the weapons that come off of it, especially the beam arrays, keep them. We've gone over this in previous shows. We've gone over it on my channel. Those weapons actually are levelless and will level beyond a Mark 12 very rare in most cases. They're not going to go much further beyond that. A Mark 13 very rare could probably outdamage them, but they are of that level where they're better than the Constitution phasers that you get off the C-Store Constitution. Those levelless original series phasers. They are better than those when it comes to the levelless proc, and I believe several of them you can get are like emitter linked. So not only are they levelless and level up pretty well over time, but since they're emitter linked, I believe the emitter linked are shield healing and shield cap. So survival built into a decent levelless phaser. So you definitely want to pick those up.
Yeah, definitely check some of that stuff out. We'll be able to go over it in a little bit more detail when they do finally give you guys your copies of the blogs. But moving along, we have Star Trek: The Worst Generation. But apparently this is the Star Trek Online gameplay playthrough from MMO Huts. I've not had a chance to go too far into this yet, but I know our good hologram Artie has checked into it a good little bit.
So basically the first episode is the pilot, funny enough. He's basically starting with the Discovery content and is starting out past the Discovery character tutorial and is just going into the episode secrets. And he's joined with one of the writers of one of his buddies from MMO Huts, and basically they just go through the missions talking about the different things they see, talking about STO, talking about the gameplay, the story, and get to be excited due to talking about, you didn't get to have this the ability of playing a game that takes place in what you're watching on TV right next to your computer. There wasn't much of an era of that time, and now we get to do that in Star Trek Online now with Discovery. So that's a little bit what they discuss in the episode, while also critiquing the episode secrets. It's pretty hilarious, I have to say.
Alrighty,
Don't forget to press F.
Press F to succeed. And our crew will get the little joke. There's actually a story behind that I'll have to tell you guys out there on YouTube land at some point. But anyways, definitely check out these playthroughs. They sound like they're going to be very interesting to see, and I guess see another person's perspective that's experiencing the content for the first time. So definitely give that a watch if that's something you're interested in. Now, moving right along, we have something that I know me and Timberwolf have rather enjoyed being able to test, especially on Tribble when it was first over there, and had got to plan ahead a little bit. We've talked about this respectively on some of our own channels a little bit. We've also talked about it here on the show a good bit as well. But one of the big things they're doing is they're actually now giving you guys access to the Tier 6 reputations. And some of the big stuff you're going to be getting is additional ranks of certain traits, meaning they're going to become more powerful. They're going to improve certain set weapon damage. You're going to get some social abilities based on reputations. You're also going to get account-wide reputation gear discounts. So that means for all future reputation projects, every character on your account will get the cost requirements such as dilithium, marks, and EC cut in half. Now, obviously that doesn't affect elite marks, but it does affect everything else. And this is one of the things that we talked about at length on our own channels and here on the show, is the alternate energy types that you're going to be picking up for the different reputations, such as the one they use in the blog here, and that they talked about on the stream initially was the Terran Task Force. Normally you had the Disruptor. Well, now once you reach Tier 6, you'll have access to a Phaser. And I know Timber has some good thoughts on this, so I'm going to get him first, and I will give my thoughts last.
Wait, I'm up?
Yep,
Oh,
you're up.
got it. Sorry. That's what I got paperwork I'm doing. This has been great. I mean, it's not exactly what some of us were looking for. I will say that up front on PC, because quite honestly, me and Blade were looking for warp cores to be part of this upgrade when it comes to the oldest reputations. One of the big things we were looking for. Having a Nukara warp core, a Romulan Reman warp core, or warp cores for the Task Force Omega sets. But all things considered, there have been a lot of good things that have come out of this. The alternate energy types. Disruptors really didn't get much of an upgrade when it comes down to it, but they really didn't need it. But I think we both have agreed, separately and together on this podcast, that the other energy types have actually gotten a decent boost because of all this. A lot of improvements, and the boosts to the traits have been pretty good. And they even boosted one, I'm guessing this is when I can talk about it, right, Blade?
It's already out, yes.
Alright, so they just did a recent patch on Holodeck on PC, where they talked about where they were fixing the tooltip for Energy Frequencer to make it more like what it was supposed to be. However, I noticed the mechanics of it changed, because the way it was originally worded and worked before the patch was, in space, it was a 2.5% of your outgoing damage was counted as a hull heal. And when you looked at the tooltip, it said that it happened a max of 5 times a second, and it was capped at 100 hull heal per tick. So the most you could get out of that thing was 500 hull heal every second. Which, to us was a little low, considering you can't guarantee the max, the max one every single shot. It depends on your outgoing damage. Well, as soon as the patch came out, the mechanics actually changed, so I think it was a little bit more than just a tooltip change, because now the percentage of your outgoing damage and the cap on the heal both increase or decrease depending on the amount of hull healing you have in your build. And I'm talking about your skill tree points, anything that, as far as a console or set bonus, that gives you passive hull healing. When it comes to the hull healing, like let's say the Kobali console, the Regenerative Integrity Field, it has a, plus 28.5% hull healing bonus. I've got
One moment, I can tell you exactly.
Got it right here. 28.5% hull healing.
Yep.
That passive does affect your energy frequencer now. They've got it where all those things can affect it. So biotech patch can affect it as well as a space trait. So when I look at it now, with my current build, energy frequencer in space, current build I have does 7.5% of my outgoing damage as a hull heal, and each max cap is 300. That can happen 5 times. So that could be 1,500 a second of my outgoing damage. And I posted this on my production page. I have a tank theory that I've been working on with Chris. I've been going to, let's say, tanking school. It's something that's coming soon for his channel. Because, well, it's about damn time. And with the theory that I built, with its hull healing, it's a 14.6% of my outgoing damage as a hull heal, with a cap of 702 every proc. Which 702 times 5, you're looking at a little bit more than 3,500 a second that you can get out of this as a max or a hull heal. And it's a passive thing. Just as you're firing weapons, you're getting a hull heal. So if you can find a nice balance between, you know, your abilities and your traits, your skill tree, where you've got decent hull healing, and you don't sacrifice really on your damage, you can get something that is better than protomatter conduits. You actually have an option where you can trade out. Do you want to wait for the critical hit and get the protomatter regeneration from the space trait? Or do you have enough damage built in where you put it on energy refrequencer and you've got a good passive hull heal that always happens that could rival Hazard Emitters 2 or 3 as far as its heal over time? You won't be able to replace the damage resistance or the damage over time effects removal that it can do, but you could replace its healing, where you've just got it for the dot removal. So that's the big thing that I've seen with this. A lot of them have just been like 20-25% increase when it comes to what it can do. Like precision is 4% crit chance to 5% when it goes to rank 2, things of that nature. But the biggest gains have been for things that actually heal you. And energy refrequencer really got a boost here. And when I went to rank 2 with it, it went up 3% roughly for the healing. So if you've got 10% of your outgoing damage as a hull heal on it, when you upgrade to rank 2, it's going to be around 13% without changing anything, just upgrading to rank 2. So it's really going to depend on how you can balance your build. And Energy Refrequencer could make a serious comeback for a lot of players out there. And just in general, these Tier 6 reputations have been really, really nice for multiple builds. Not just damage output, but for science, for immunities, or any kind of thing you're trying to work out with. Science, DPS, hybrids. A lot of this stuff has really gotten a boost. So console players, you definitely want to check this out when it comes out. And I would say make for sure that you have at least 2,000 of every mark when you're starting this off, because it's going to take you to get on one character all the account unlocks, the fleet ship modules, all of that, and ranked Tier 6. You're going to look at about roughly 1,500 marks to do all of that, and you're going to be at 0. So I figure if you have at least 2,000 each, you'll have some to play around once the discount takes into effect. That's all I got.
Yep. Which is, I'm glad you actually brought that up, because one of the other big things, I know a complaint that we've heard for a while, is getting fleet ship modules and captain retrain tokens. That's one of the things that they are giving you guys as one of the rewards at Tier 6. You'll now be able to claim a account-bound fleet ship module. It's one fleet ship module, or character-bound. Character-bound. I don't know why I said account. But, anyways, one fleet ship module that is character-bound, if I could words today, and a captain retrain token once per reputation per character, so you're looking at about 13 fleet ship modules per toon, and 13 free retrains per toon. So if you're somebody that has lifetime membership, then this is going to be even better for you. If you're somebody that is free to play, this is just that much better, because you're getting a very good value here in terms of free stuff. So overall, you are going to get some pretty good trade improvements. You're going to get some pretty good gear discounts, and even some vanity shields to go along with it, which I know our resident Space Barbie Artie definitely approves of. But, anyways, that's some of the big stuff that we did want to go over. We didn't want to get too much into detail because we've covered a lot of this previously. You can check out some of our previous episodes on this if you'd like to know more of our thoughts on that. But anyways, that's what we have for our articles this evening. Surprise, surprise, we're already at the budget build and we're only about 25 minutes into the show. Shocking, ain't it, folks? But anyways, for this particular build this evening, we're doing a slight variation since some of the T5 ships from the lockbox have come to within affordable range, to where I believe they can be justified at the budget end. And we're introducing something I'm going to be referring to as a dime budget, where basically it's similar to our bare bones budgets, except now you have a budget of 10 million EC to work with, and part of that is going to include picking up your ship. So, as to how much you're going to have left over to actually gear the ship out, it is going to slightly vary depending on the ship and the current going rates. But we wanted to mix this up a little bit, so currently, you can see we're going to be doing a Decora, a Ferengi Decora. Now, one of the things that I've had a few people ask lately of us is, what's some ways to get a good ship? Where can I pick up a good ship that's not too terribly expensive? And for this total build, I think we only ended up spending a little over the cost to get the ship itself. This particular ship, at the time of recording this, was going for about 5.6, 5.7 million, so a little bit over the cost of a single key, and you can get lockbox quality. Now, what is good about these particular ships, like the Decora, and some of the ones that are left in the Tier 5 pack, is they actually upgrade to T5U for free. So that's going to save you a good bit of Zen and a good bit of EC. Now, for this particular ship, we did go with a few fleet items this go around. And to kind of mix it up, we went with disruptors in this case. We figured, what can we do on a budget with something like the Decora? And we also mixed it up a little bit as well. It's not strictly a tank this time around, but it's kind of more towards the middle of the spectrum. And for our weapons, it's a 4-4 layout. On the front of the ship, we have our Nausicaan Disruptor Beam Array and our Nausicaan Energy Torpedo, meaning it's a torpedo that deals disruptor damage. And then we have two of our standard disruptors that we had to purchase from the exchange for pretty cheap. Then in the rear of the ship, we have our very rare Resonant Disruptor. And then we also have our Martok Omni and two more of our purchased Disruptor Beams. So that's something we're going to have... some good stuff there we're going to have as far as weapons. Now, there are some set bonuses we're going to be calling on to get you guys some good damage out of this ship. We'll take a look at those in just a minute. But for our shields, our engines, and our deflector, now we're actually not using any one specific set. We're mixing and matching a little bit to kind of get the best of both worlds, ideally, for this ship. Now, for our engines and our shields, we actually used the Bajor defense. So Bajor defense shields, Bajor engines. And that is mainly for the set bonus that we're going to get to increase our damage, and we'll show by how much in just a minute. For our warp core and our deflector. For our warp core, we have a Elite Fleet Plasma Integrated Warp Core with the AMP modifier. That's going to give us a bit of damage as well as increase our power transfer, letting our power come back quickly. We're also going to be using a Fleet Intervention Proto-Matter Deflector Array from our colony. Most colonies out there, I figure by now, are at least Tier 3. And this is going to give you some damage increases based off the colony crit mod, which is going to increase some of your crit values at the higher HP that you have. Then, for your devices, you have 4 device slots. We still like to think of them as personal preference. However, a great device is the Subspace Field Modulator from the Skirmish mission. Now that is in the Available tab. You'll have to play through a few missions to get to it, but it is still a great device to pick up whenever you get there. It's part of the Spectre's Arc. Then to get to the Arc, all you would have to do is bring up your mission journal, go to available, and you should see it in your list of available missions. For your consoles, once it's upgraded to T5U, you'll have 4 engineering, 3 science, and 4 tactical. For engineering consoles, we have our Trillium deplating for free defensive value and shield capacity, basically a neutronium and a field generator slammed into one. Then we have our reinforced armaments console, which is going to give us a good bit of power transfer, and it's a nice little gap filler. We also have our Martok, or House Martok defensive configuration. This is basically an RCS and a field generator slammed into one, so you're going to get some very nice benefits out of this. And we also have our hydrodynamics compensator. Now, the compensator itself, not too terribly much to write home about as far as bonuses, in my opinion, but what makes it great is part of the 2-set bonus that we're going to be calling on, and we'll explain why in just a moment. For our science consoles, we have the assimilated module from Omega Rep for some crit chance and severity. We also have our Nausicaan siphon capacitor, which is basically a free, in a way, a free disruptor tactical console, but is also going to give a bit of power transfer. So you're going to have very high transfer rate with this ship, and you're also going to be doing a lot of damage. Then finally we have our temporal disentanglement suite from the Butterfly mission. This is going to give you a bit of crit chance and severity, depending on how high your aux power is, up to a certain maximum. You're also going to be getting a bit of shield capacity, as well as shield damage resistance. Then to round out our tactical consoles, we have 2 of the disruptor induction coils from the Echoes of Light mission. Those are just standard disruptor consoles that are going to boost our stuff. We have the Counter Command Multi-Conduit Energy Relay, which is going to round out our 2-set bonus, well, one of our 2-set bonuses that we're going to be calling on, and this is from the Surface Tension mission. And finally, we have our Harmonic Resonance Relay to complete another 2-set bonus. This is going to give us some nice disruptor damage, as well as a bit of armor pen to our weapons. Now for our set bonuses, we'll take a look at those really quickly, because they are very important to the build. First and foremost, for our resonance set, see, one of the things you're going to have on the engines, one of the things you're going to have on the beam is the resonance disruption wave, which deals physical damage to the enemy, and also increases damage to their shields for 8 seconds, and that's when you have the 2-set. Now for the 2-set on this, you're going to get the you're going to get a bit of weapons power, and you're also going to get the increased damage to the shields from the disruption wave. Now, this particular 2-set bonus isn't the greatest to write home about. It is a good thing to have, and overall our harmonic beam, or our resonant disruption beam, I should say, is actually a nice one to have to fill the slot. So that's one reason we have that. Then we have our Nausicaan set. You can see it gives a pretty good chunk of stuff there. Now this is where we're going to start getting into some interesting effects. For our Nausicaan effect, our 2-set is going to increase the Disruptor Net, which is a hold and temporary disable that deals disruptor damage to foes. And that's... I hear a phone!
Not I.
That means Timber, get a text message. But, yeah, he'd be worried if I didn't give him just a little bit of grief. Just saying. And then our 3-set bonus, since we're using full 3-piece Nausicaan, we're actually going to be getting 28.5% Category 1 Disruptor damage, and we're also going to get an additional plus 50 hull pin, which is going to allow us to bypass even more armor combined with some of the other effects. So you're basically getting a butt ton of hull pin, and you're getting the free equivalent of a tactical console as your 3-set bonus here. Then for our Bajor set, we'll take a look at it really quickly, then we'll explain why we went with the hydrodynamic stuff. Now our 2-set bonus here is pretty much static. It's additional 19% disruptor damage that we're going to be drawing from here. So again, free Category 1 damage. And the Bajor set, I think, is fairly decent. It's kind of towards the middle of the spectrum, I would say. Now finally, for our counter command, our hydrodynamics compensator, and our multi-conduit energy relay, by having those on the ship, we're going to get access to the biomolecular instability. Now why this is so significant is it is a 7.5% bonus damage to phaser, disruptor, plasma, and tetrion weapons, and it also increases chance for biomolecular weapons to apply their debuffs. Now this is actually very significant because this is a 7.5% Category 2 boost, meaning that it's taken into account after all of the other calculations are applied, whereas Category 1 implies strictly your base damage. So that's, in a nutshell, why this is so important, and it's actually going to give you a huge damage boost compared to some of the other set bonuses that we're going to have on the ship. And then, just because we can, really quickly, we're going to look at our two-piece for our House Martok, which is pretty much what you see is what you get. 2.5% critical chance and a bit of accuracy rating. So overall, not that bad, I don't think. So that's what we've got as far as our equipment goes. Now for our skills, it's our standard skill loadout. It's I'll mouse over this really quickly for you guys that kind of just want to copy the build or want to take a look at it. It's designed to give a balanced approach and allow you to adapt to any situation. It's 14 engineering, 14 science, and 18 tactical. You can see our lieutenant and lieutenant commander level skills, our commander level and then captain level skills, and then our admiral level skills. And we'll have a video for you guys where those of you wanting a more technical explanation of why we picked what we picked can check that out there. For our specializations, we went with Intel Strategist for this. This is going to kind of balance out some offensive power and defensive ability as well. If you're not pulling threat, you can call on the offensive abilities of Strategist, or you can call on the defensive abilities if you are drawing threat. So, it gives you the ability to adapt to the situation, I believe. For traits, everything this go around, we have our accurate, which is going to offset our accuracy penalty a bit to things like fall and scatter volley. Beam training for free beam damage. Elusive for free defense value to make our ship harder to hit. Fleet coordinator for free damage based on how many people are in the party. Minimum of 2% up to a 10% maximum. We have our Grace Under Fire career specific trait because the builder defaults to engineers. If you are not an engineering toon but you would like to use this build, then swap in your own career specific trait and you're good to go. Then we have our Beam Barrage for our R&D crafting trait. We usually like to assume you've leveled at least one crafting school, and in this case you've chosen beams as the assumption. We have our Nanite Repair Matrix from the Midnight Mission. It's going to be a nice little heal when we start dipping really low. Point Blank Shot, which is going to give us an increase in our energy weapon damage the closer we are to the target, up to a certain maximum. And then finally, Redirected Armor Plating, which is going to give a free temporary damage resistance boost when struck from behind or the sides. For Starship Traits, we were able to fill 3 of the slots this go around. We have our Best Defense, which is going to grant a hull healing buff along with the normal effects to our attack patterns. Our Protective Algorithms for a bit of damage boosting and accuracy bonus from Intel. And that's since we're running our Strategist, we're running our Unconventional Tactics, which is going to give a very nice, I believe it is Category 2 bonus to our Brace for Impact for a short period. For our Space Reps, pretty much our standard loadout, Advanced Target Systems for free severity, Precision for free critical hit chance, Aux Power Offense, which is going to give us a nice accuracy and damage boost based on our Aux Power level. And then finally, Magnified Firepower for a free bit of Category 2 damage that is going to be static. Active Reps, Anti-Time Entanglement Singularity. This is going to give a nice little AoE slow and physical damage effect to foes. It's going to smack them with. Biomolecular shield generator, which is going to reduce damage taken to your shields and give a slight bit of healing while you're inside the bubble to you and nearby allies. Deploy sensor interference platform for an "oh crap, I'm gonna die" button. You press this and the little platform that appears will taunt enemies to itself until it is either destroyed or until its duration runs out, whichever of those things happens first. Then finally we have our quantum singularity manipulation. This is going to increase all of your science stats by a fair chunk for the time it's active, and also grant a temporary cloaking effect. To get more bang for your buck out of your anti-time entanglement, throw any exotic buffs you may have first, follow that with your quantum singularity manipulation, and then crack off anything like a gravity well or your anti-time that you may have. Then, finally, for our bridge officer powers, for this particular ship, since it's an older ship, you are kind of locked into what you have as far as your seating. For this particular ship, you have a Lieutenant Commander Tactical, an Ensign Tac, Commander Engineer, Lieutenant Engineer, and Lieutenant Science. So a fairly decent balance, I believe. For your Lieutenant Commander Tactical, we have a TAC Team 1 to redirect the shields and give some nice bonuses. We have an Attack Pattern Beta to debuff foes. We have a Beam Fire at Will 3 to smack anything in range with our beams. And we have a Torpedo Spread 1 to throw our Energy Torp around. For our Commander Engineering, we have an Emergency to Engines 1. This is going to be a nice little get out of dodge ability when we need a emergency boost to our engines. We're also going to have our Directed Energy Modulation, which is going to give some nice shield bypassing, or some additional, what is the word I'm looking for now that they're calling it. But anyway, it's going to let us bypass the shields a little bit more. And then we have our Emergency Power to Weapons 3. This is going to give a nice damage bonus to us and additional weapons power. And then to round out our Commander Engineering, we have Reverse Shield Polarity 3, which is going to let us recharge our shields a bit off of incoming damage. Finally, we have Engineering Team 1, which is going to give us some of our hull back, as well as purge viral matrix type effects. And then we have an Aux to Structural, which is going to give us some defensibility, damage resistance, and a bit of temporary HP. For our Science Seat, we have our Hazard Emitters 1, which is a heal over time and slight bit of damage resistance, purges Borg Plasma Fires. And then finally we have our Science Team 2, which is going to heal our shields a bit, as well as purging certain debuffs that are subnucleonic based. So that's what we have for this particular ship. But overall, we only spent about 7.2 million EC. 5.6 of that was to actually get the weapons, or not to get the weapons, but to get the ship itself. And also, we spent about 1.6 million in order to acquire the beams that we would need. In terms of dilithium, you're looking at about 60,000 dilithium. That's just the 4 basic items. And for the rep weapons, that's actually going to get a lot cheaper once you unlock your reputation discount. So that would cut that cost in half for them. You're looking at about 8 days total build time for the ship. That's assuming only one character is refining dilithium per day. And the good thing I should mention about the Decora for you guys, and then I'll pass it over to these folks and they can give their thoughts, is this is actually a faction-neutral ship. Any character in game can fly a Decora. So that is something I did want to mention for you guys, but yeah, thoughts from you guys on this one.
I will say, first off, I'm excited that you're using the protomatter deflector array, because I don't get to see that very often in builds. So that's exciting to see it even being used.
Alrighty, thoughts from you, Sir Timber?
I like it. It's a good build. I like that.
He likes it because it kills
That
things.
too.
Which, can't say that I blame him. But, like I say, we wanted to give you guys some options and show that, you know, hey, you can get a ship on a fairly small budget, which is the point of the budget builds, to give you guys ideas and show you guys some of the possibilities that are out there. But coming up on our final segment of the evening, been kind of quiet on the bugs front, so not really much for the buggy corner this week. Though I can say, if you guys do see any bugs, feel free to pass those along. We will see to it the devs get them. But coming up to our final segment of the evening, we have something a bit different than normal for our RP corner. Sir Artie, let them know what they're in for.
Alright, so for the next few weeks, members of the show, as well as you, the viewers, will be participating in what I would like to call a pilot review show roleplay event. This will take place through multiple weeks, and as Blade could show you through the map here, we will be taking care of what I would like to call an extragalactic invasion. We're dealing with aliens from another galaxy, not sure how they showed up, we don't know who they are, have no details on them except what details I will be presenting to you in the following weeks. And we will be engaging in this galactic roleplay and see how you as captains and tacticians and other fleet commanders from all the different factions deal with this new threat. In the current story, I'm depicting it as everything currently in the current STO timeline has been resolved, where you don't have to worry about anything with time travel or shenanigans like that. The Iconians are doing their thing. The threat from the Zinkethi and the Herc are, that's been taken care of. So now we're dealing with the next big thing, is the idea for this hypothetical engagement. But for how you, the viewer, can get tied into all this, once this video goes out, you will be able to comment to the YouTube channel and express how what your character is doing in whatever position and whatever fleet he or she is in, or it, if that's what alien you are, and get to explain, hey, we should go with this tactic if we're dealing with this sort of enemy strategy, or hey, I would like to do this intelligence operation. What will I get from it? And we'll do a debate, as I will be the game master of this giant session, while both Timber and Blade here will be your fleet commanders. After all that, we will be dealing with how our major factions engage this conflict, and throughout the weeks we will see the war, this possible war, unfold. Currently we have Starfleet Romulans and Klingons engaging. The Cardassians, Dominion, and other various minor races haven't joined in yet, but who knows? As the weeks go on, something may happen. And that's a bit for a sneak peek. Tune in next week for week 0, initiation phase.
Indeed. So, we kind of wanted to mix it up for you guys. We hope you guys enjoy this, and definitely be sure to participate so we can repel these filthy vermin from our galaxy. But, yeah. That's some of the stuff we've got going on, so we hope you guys will join us for this little RP event. There's not... we wanted to try something new for you guys. Hopefully get you guys engaged a little bit. Everything. There's not really a lot elsewhere going on, so we figured, what the heck, why not? Why not have a little fun with you guys at the same time? But, anyways, folks, that's what we've got for a show this evening. We hope you guys have enjoyed it. And, thank you, Sir Artie, for starting us off as our game master.
I'm happy to help.
But anyways, on our way out the door, as always, a shout out to our good friends over at the Temporal Armada. Be sure to check out their radio program. They're a very cool bunch of folks. And also, be sure to check out our other good friends over at the Kurtang Pirate Radio. The party is there. And they always have some great music, which is why we always play their stuff on our music bot here in the server. But also, if you guys have any requests for budget builds, feel free to let us know. We do take requests, as well as doing original builds from time to time as well. Let us know, hey, this is what I'm looking for. I've really only got a bare bones budget, or I've got more of a mid-range, or I'm looking for something a bit more high-end, what can you do for me? Let us know what you're wanting to do. Are you wanting to be a tank? Are you wanting to be a pure damage dealer? Are you wanting to be a space wizard? Are you, whatever it is you're wanting to do, let us know what ships you have as well, what you want to do it with, and we'll try to hook you up with a build. Also, if you feel that your ship and your gear are in order, and maybe it's just your piloting needs a little bit of work, you want to get a little bit more out of your build currently, you think your gear's in order, feel free to get us a brief little video clip of your piloting and submit that to us through YouTube or other means so we can easily access it and we can offer some tips and tricks to improve in that area. If you have any bugs, feel free to let us know. We will pass those along to the devs as we always do. They don't like bugs any more than you or I do, and that's why they've got screwballs like me and now Timberwolf and a few others that are out there trying to hunt stuff down. So it can be a less buggy experience for you guys and for everybody. But as always as well, if you have any requests for the RP Corner, Artie does take requests on that, and he may just talk about your topic on air. And join us as well next week for more information on our intergalactic threat that we're going to be dealing with here on the show, and we hope you guys enjoyed the RP event we have for you by our very talented game master. But anyways, folks, this is the Pilot Review Show, reminding you to have your tribbles spayed or neutered. Goodbye, everybody.
See ya.
See ya.